Pick your friends, pick your nose, but don't pick your friends. Medicare for the Lazy Man podcast. A podcast that proudly flies the flag every day. And now his frown is almost always upside down. Medicare expert Doug Jones.
Well, hello again, everybody. Welcome to the Medicare for the Lazy Man podcast. I have to tell you, this is our last recording session for 2021. Everything that you hear from now on into the future is going to be recorded in 2022 or later. So I am decidedly happy and sad. This 2021 was a great year for the Medicare for the Lazy Man podcast staff. And it was great for new business. Many new clients signed up for Medicare coverage with us. And it's bittersweet because it was such a wonderful year and now it's coming to an end. I'm hoping that 2022 turns out to be as good. Doesn't have to be better to make me happy. Just as good would be the way I like it. Now, you just heard from my Canadian nephew, Drew McMillan, and he introduced me as your Medicare expert. Well, that is true. My job is to help people make the transition from Obamacare to Medicare. And it doesn't have to be scary. It doesn't have to be a big, huge deal. It can be a series of small baby steps that lead you in the right direction. And once those baby steps have been taken, once a few decisions have been made with my recommendations that I offer to you, you will find that the process is painless and the results are probably in your favor. At least that's the way it works out for most people. So that's the way we deal with Medicare transitions around here. We paint lipstick on that pig. We put a happy face on them, and that's the way it works out for most of our clients. And when I say when I use the third party, I'm also talking about Randy Carson, my friend and podcast engineer who twiddles the knobs and slides the slides and makes this podcast sound good and basically keeps me on the track when I go wandering off the track. Good morning, Randy. How are you?
Hey, Doug, I'm good. I know you're a long ways away now, so I feel like I must speak a little louder.
It's always a good idea just because I might not hear correctly. I'm getting old, you know.
You're out there and where is it?
It's just west of Chicago.
I was thinking it was just east of Antarctica.
Well, it's if you look outside, you would swear that you were in one of the Arctics, the Arctic or the Antarctic, either one. They both look the same. It's all white and it's cold, and it's not the kind of place I like hanging my hat.
No, I totally understand. I've probably told you this before, but back before I was preparing to move out of Nebraska, where I was born and raised, I used to have a joke. I'm going to put a snow blade on the front of my pickup truck, and I'm going to start driving west. And as soon as somebody stops me or when I'm filling up with fuel and says, "What is that contraption on the front of your truck?" I'd say, "Okay, where are we?" And they'd say, "Okay, I need to go buy a house right here."
Well, I'll tell you, I did back in the olden days. I bought a 76 Jeep when it was 2 years old. And I got a snowplow for it because I had a really long driveway and a lot of turnarounds and parking areas in our family, my parents' estate, basically. And I plowed snow with that thing and I drove it to the train station. And all of a sudden, it just basically collapsed. It rotted away out from under me. So I think the next Jeep I get is going to have like a tungsten steel frame and a Kevlar body. Yeah, that's where I'm going to start and make that thing.
So was it like a Flintstone mobile? Were you like paddling down below?
That was the first problem I noticed. The floor hole got bigger and bigger and bigger. I wound up having to fold a traffic sign in half and shoving it under the carpet so I wouldn't fall out.
Oh, my God. That's a good story.
I think part of the problem was I would go to the train station 5 days a week, and they use tons of salt at the train station. Other places, not so much salt. The train station, They used tons of salt, and a lot of it wound up on my Jeep. And I used to come home in the evening from the office. I'd get home about 6 o'clock or so. I'd go inside, change my clothes, and open a beer. And then I'd go sit in the garage and look at my beautiful black Jeep. It's got a big lift on it and everything, big old tires and wheels. And I would just sit there in silence and listen to the rust eating it.
I was going to say, watching the rust drop off the bottom.
Yeah, it was just frightening how quickly it went. So fortunately, I sold it before, it became completely unmarketable. But it was a beautiful thing to behold, and then it was a tragedy that it was eaten away by the salt that is our friend.
I don't see my car. Where is it? You're looking in the lot. There's just a heap of rust down there at the end of the street with a couple tires flipped over.
That's how you know where you parked.
That's right.
You're driving a Jeep.
That's right. So I've got a couple things for you. We haven't done this in a long time. Stump the insurance expert.
Oh boy. Ouch. Oh, getting stumped is not as much fun as one would think, but go ahead. Stump me.
Well, this isn't too bad. It's a very, very timely question for this time of year, being this is pretty much our last recording session. This isn't going to hit the right time because we're on a different schedule for publishing, but
no, it'll be 2022 by the time people hear this.
Yep.
For us, tomorrow is New Year's Eve.
That's right. So I'm going to play Stump the Insurance Guy. And the first question is, and this may be the only question I ask, depending on, whether we've got some time. What does the title Auld Lang Syne mean?
Oh boy, oh boy, oh boy. That's a mystery for the ages because people get all liquored up and sing that song. And some people probably wonder while they're singing it what that means. But then by the time they sober up the next day, that thought is forgotten. So I couldn't tell you. I really don't know what it means.
Well, it can be translated several ways, but pretty much everybody will agree, depending on it's Old English.
Yeah.
That's
Old English or Middle English? There's a difference.
It's written based on a poem by Robert Burns that was written in 1788.
Okay, that's old, but it is not Old English. That has a specific definition. So I'm guessing that is antiquated English, but not Old English.
Okay, so this is what it's generally translated to mean. Old, long since.
Well, that doesn't help a lot.
It can be translated less literally to mean long, long ago, days gone by, or old times.
Okay, I'm liking those translations better because they may need a little more slack, a little more wiggle room, but they make more sense to the modern English-speaking ear.
Yeah.
Don't you agree?
Yes. And Robert Burns, again, it was based on a poem written by Robert Burns in 1788. And bottom line is, I think that everybody, I would be willing to bet that 99.9% of the people that sing that on New Year's Eve have no idea what they're singing.
I'm quite certain that I never did whenever I sang that. And it was the kind of thing where I would be intellectually curious, but the thought wouldn't stay with me until the sobriety returned. So thank you for sharing that. That's a very interesting set of interpretations.
Yeah, I just thought it was appropriate for today, but given the fact that I'm the broadcast engineer, I'm going to have to crack the whip.
All righty, let's get to work here. Now, my intention was to fill this episode chock full of mailbag items so that Randy and his lovely bride and whoever wants to go with him can hang around at the bars in Cave Creek without the other patrons being upset, because this seems to be the favorite podcast episode content in the bars of Cave Creek, and they get a little testy when they don't get enough of them. But I have an important announcement that came across my desk yesterday, and I want to read this announcement and then move on to podcast the mailbag information, mailbag items. This is an announcement that came from Blue Cross Blue Shield of Oklahoma. And the headline is, anesthesiologists at Integris hospitals notify Blue Cross Blue Shield of intent to terminate network participation. Now, the anesthesiologists at a group, or the anesthesiologist group at the U.S. anesthesia partner locally known as Northwest Anesthesia, has notified Blue Cross Blue Shield of Oklahoma of its intent to leave the provider networks if an agreement is not reached before January 9th. And this is the Blue Cross organization we're reading here. It says the next steps: we are standing with our members and customers to consider or to continue giving them access to quality, affordable health care. Read more about our negotiation with the anesthesiologist group and a resource members will have beginning January 1st. Well, I didn't read that. Basically, I heard everything I needed in that first couple of paragraphs. This is another indication of the inferiority of Medicare Advantage plans that force people to use networks of doctors and hospitals that are put together by the insurance company plan. If a contracted provider decides to leave that plan, and this is an important function that you are treated by, then you're SOL. You don't have any recourse. And what happened here is we just finished the annual AEP, annual enrollment period, and a lot of people may have switched from whatever Medicare Advantage plan they used to have to an Advantage plan served by or sold by the Blue Cross Blue Shield of Oklahoma organization. And then after that ability to change plans has ended on December 7th, and they get all ready for their new plan to start on January 1st, what happens? The anesthesiologists are not going to be compensated for treating patients like during surgery for anybody belonging to the Blue Cross Blue Shield plans. At least those particular anesthesiologists aren't. It's a typical example of the way that Medicare Advantage plans can disappoint and cause problems for the clients, and you can't do a thing about it. You cannot go to those to any surgeon using an anesthesiologist from that group and expect the anesthesiologist to get paid for his services. You're going to have to pay for them out of your own pocket. So that's what I think people should be aware of when they sign up for a Medicare Advantage plan. Okay, let's do a couple of mailbag items on a happier note. Let's see. Why did I put this into the mailbag stack? This is a bunch of correspondence from Rudy. And this came in September of 2021. And the statement, he went to the website, medicareforthelazyman.com, as many people do, and filled out a questionnaire. And then there's a comment section. Do you have any comments or questions? So here's what he put in the comment section. Roxanne, Rudy's spouse, is requesting this quote. Rudy retired January of 2020, enrolled in Part A when eligible at age 65 and at retirement, added Part B, and immediately canceled after 1 month because of the cost due to IRMAA. In other words, Rudy was a successful guy, and the IRS told Medicare to charge an extra premium, the success penalty, IRMAA, income-related monthly adjustment amount, adds an extra amount to the monthly premium. And I guess Rudy was displeased with the fact that he had to pay IRMAA, so he canceled it. Rudy contacted a Social Security office to cancel, and at that point, Rudy was added to the coverage under spouse's work health insurance. Rudy continued Part A. Roxanne will retire February of 2022, so Rudy needs to add Part B and a supplement at open enrollment. It is simply easier to get, is it? Here's a question. Is it simply easier to get Rudy on his own plan before Roxanne retires? Interested in low-cost options, including Part G high deductible. That's what Randy and I always recommend for healthy people. We enjoy your podcast. Learned of the podcast through AdSpot on Easy Listening. That is a podcast done by some of Adam Carolla's co-workers. And I support them financially, and some of our potential clients listen to that and contact me for Medicare help. So I wrote in response, thank you for making contact. This is the Mrs., Rudy's wife. To answer your speculation, I would say that Mr. Ramirez, I wasn't going to say their last name. I would say that Rudy can feel free to apply for Part B and enroll in a Medicare supplement plus a prescription drug plan at any time you wish between October 1st and February, when your insurance will terminate. Do it whenever it's convenient for you. The open enrollment between October and December has nothing to do with your situation. The fact that he is 65 plus and wants to enroll in Medicare is the overriding fact that allows him to take this action. The only unknown to me is whether his previous enrollment and disenrollment in Part B will have any effect on this whole transaction. Going online to start the new Part B enrollment should tell the tale very quickly. Attached, you will find a Medicare supplement quotes for 3 of the highly rated companies I use in Arizona, your state. The rates are fairly close, but my recommendation is to seriously consider using the one from United American. This is a great company that has established a strong track record of rate stability and customer service. I have no doubt that you will be most satisfied with United American over the long haul. And to that end, I have also attached the United American brochure for their Medicare supplement plans. In case you want more information, another consideration is the prescription drug plan. I've attached a short questionnaire that, when you return to me, will allow me to identify the least costly drug plan from the 30 or so available in Arizona. If Mr. Ramirez does not take any prescription medications, I still suggest purchasing this particular plan for about $7.30 a month. This will stave off the possibility of that lifetime late enrollment penalty. I stand ready to answer any questions you might have and to prepare your insurance applications when you think the time is right. And so then, let's see, Mrs. Rudy then writes, "Hello, Doug. Thank you for the very speedy response. Since adding Rudy to my healthcare plan only costs an additional $100 a month, he will most likely stay on my plan at least through December 31st of 2021. We would really like to know a ballpark healthcare cost number before the final hour of transition. Cost of healthcare may have an impact on my early retirement decision. Is it possible to fill out the online Part B application just to confirm eligibility for planning purposes? I'm curious about your statement regarding his previous enrollment or disenrollment having an effect on this transaction. Looking at the United American brochure, I was somewhat confused because it mentions Part B coverage. If Rudy does high deductible Plan G, would United American also be covering his Part B? And it looks like premiums are paid directly to United American. Rudy only takes one medication that is a very benign blood pressure medication, which is refilled every 90 days, very inexpensive. So the basic plan that you recommended sounds like a good option. However, we're open to reviewing options. Reading your book, I learned that if a person becomes eligible to purchase a drug plan, but elects not to do so at the point they become eligible, a late enrollment penalty will apply to each month after the initial eligibility period. I'm hoping that the penalty does not apply to Rudy. If applicable, it may be less expensive to self-insure, but then again, one takes a risk that expensive prescriptions in the future will be a tough budget item. Again, using your book, it appears that we need to count the following ballpark monthly premium numbers. Part A, 0%. Part B of Medicare, $148.50. That was last year's monthly premium. It has jumped up to $170, I believe, for 2022. Part B IRMAA was $207.70 per month based on 2019 tax return earnings. Subtotal $356.40 for Rudy. Plan G, high deductible, about $55 a month. Part D, Silver Script, that was about $8 a month. And she mentions that there's going to be an IRMAA penalty on that she calculates is about $12.30 based on their 2019 income. So the estimated total of all of that stuff is $419.40 a month. Again, thank you so much for your assistance. Your book really added clarity to a confusing subject. Signed, Roxanne. And I said, "Hi, Roxanne. Your computations are very thorough and accurate. If coverage that you are happy with costs you only $100 a month, I would say you are smart to keep that as long as it's convenient for you." Here's the thing with Part B of Medicare. In order to apply for an insurance company plan, you must have Part A and Part B either in place or starting on the same date as your Medicare supplement. From that date on, the Medicare supplement supplements the Medicare coverage that you have with Parts A and B. I confirmed that you would be able to use the least costly Part D plan. There is a $6.60 per month premium this year. If you use CVS or their mail order service, there would be no drug copays to increase that cost, and you would avoid the risk of a late enrollment penalty down the road. I don't know if you can experiment online and get all of the details you seek before committing yourself, but my guess is that would be possible. Was the cause of your IRMAA penalty the result of excellent earnings, or was there a one-time temporary event that gave you a windfall? If so, you might want to consider filing an SSA-44 to see if the Social Security Administration would consider reducing or eliminating the IRMAA. I hope this is helpful, and I look forward to helping you plan the best course of action. This reminds me I should contact them again, because I have not heard about that family or what their decisions have been. How are we looking time-wise, Randy?
We're out.
Oh, boy. I'll tell you, this is how I got so old. I used to be a young man. I'd look in the mirror. I'd say, man, you're going to be young the rest of your life. And then all of a sudden, zoom, the time has gone.
Well, I look in my mirror every morning, and I would say I have to shave, but I don't shave, as you know.
Yes.
So I look in my mirror every morning and go, who is that guy looking back? I don't feel any different than I did when I was 22, but I look a whole lot different.
Well, then it may be that my vision is at fault, because when I look in that mirror, I see the same handsome 17-year-old that I once was. And it's only when you mentioned sitting cross-legged on the floor might be a problem for a man of my advanced years. I hadn't tried that in so long that it shocks me that I've gotten old and didn't even know it. So I got to go take another look in that mirror, and I may need corrective lenses.
Well, there's that problem. But if Mary calls me up and says, hey, Doug is stuck in the living room. Oh, my God, I can't get him up.
Yeah, that could be, you could be getting that phone call.
Then we'll know what happened. We'll absolutely know what happened, because Doug tried to sit Indian style on the rug.
At your suggestion.
Well, that's true. I guess I do have to take ownership for that.
I think so. Anyway, so I got to say, Happy New Year to you and yours. I hope
you too,
have
Doug.
fun.
You too, Doug. We had a great year. Yep. And certainly the reason we had a great year is in large measure due to the audience. So thank you, guys and gals, for listening to us for, the whole year. And, there's some really staunch supporters. And then we gain new momentum every day. So that's really a great thing to see. And we enjoy it. We have a lot of fun doing it. And every one of you guys and your family needs to have a great 2022. And by the way, don't do anything I wouldn't do.
I'm sure they shan't. Thank you so much for joining us. And we're going to look forward to seeing you again on the other side of that line in 2022.
So this is the last time for 2021 that you will spend 32 and a half minutes with Doug Jones, the insurance guy from Oklahoma, and now the guy leading the charge into 2022.
But not sitting cross-legged on the floor.
True.
Bye-bye, everyone.